Hi, Maria.
Let's start.
Yes.
Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2,
You
3.
want the check?
Go. So tell me, why are you the godfather of the Italian startup ecosystem?
I am.
You are.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think some people calls me like that. Some others calls me maestro.
Maestro.
Just because I was one of the first to write and to talk about startups in this country since more than 10 years ago, when the startup ecosystem that we have today was at the early beginning in Italy.
So I have a couple of questions for you because, I mean, everyone knows Emil Abirascid or Luca Emil Abirascid. You're the maestro, you're the godfather, whatever. Well, my question for you is, I know that you're involved in the ecosystem now with scaleups, so meaning that startups that are expanding or have already expanded. What is this transition for you, and what's the true meaning of starting up for you? Because today it's a big buzzword everywhere, not just in Italy.
Sure. Well, as I said, the startup ecosystem was started about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
One of the facts we have today is we have scale-up companies. So startups that born a few years ago and now are bigger companies, ready to become global companies. And those companies are the real new generation of the companies also in this country. Most of those companies, even if they born in Italy and they were launched by Italian entrepreneurs, today are global companies, are starting to expand their business on global markets. Some of them are even raising money from international investors. And this is the most interesting part, in my opinion, the most interesting result of those last 10 days of the evolution of the ecosystem.
10 years, okay. Yeah,
10 years.
Yes, because you've been through the whole journey and you can literally see the evolution. Is there something particular that attracted your attention, or is there something you can point out in this transition and rise of those global companies or global companies to be here?
Well, people is the key aspect. So the entrepreneurs and their ability to create a team around them that is good enough and to develop the companies, I think is the key aspect. Then I'm more interested in the startups that are developing new technologies, different fields, from aerospace to biotech, from energy to food tech, more than the startups that are developing new businesses, because I think are more challenging, even though we have successful startups also in the update of business models and not just in technology development. But the ones that are developing new things are more interesting for me, even though one of the aspects that I consider in the startups is I consider startup companies that are not just developing new things or new business model, but they have a new complete new approach to the entrepreneurship itself. Is a sort of mindset shift. And this is a specific thing that is in common to all the entrepreneurs
all over the world.
All over the world, the new generation of entrepreneurs all over the world.
Yes, because there's been a shift. I mean, we all know about this because things are changing and have changed anyway. So the consumer decides now. It's not the company itself as it was in the past.
Yes.
So you mentioned that you're interested in tech companies.
Yes.
In particular, how do you see the transition from these technology companies that come from a research or a lab to become a scale-up or a larger scale company?
I think that at the early beginning, the founders were mostly research or technical people that started to understand that they learned how to manage a company. Today is easier to build up a proper team because today startups and scale-ups are part of the culture. So people knows what are you talking about. In the early years was harder because startups and the ecosystem was not as common, well known as today.
Yeah.
And but it's good because even though those entrepreneurs they started as technical people or researchers, today they are very good. They understood how good it is to bring their innovation to the market, and even the companies that are coming to the international missions I organize around the world.
Which is called Italian Innovation Days.
Italian Innovation Days.
Yes.
And we are traveling in Japan, Australia, Singapore, and Australia again next week. And those companies are very good because the people behind those companies is very good.
Okay.
And the selection process to involve the companies in those trips starts from how I know the people behind those companies. And of course, I'm interested in what kind of technologies they're developing. Of course, I'm interested about their figures, their numbers, their ability to scale up, their ability to become international companies. Because when I bring those companies to those countries, if they found potential partners, they must be able to sign a contract.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it's the people that makes the difference.
Yeah, and this is like to note, it's the people, it starts from day one, basically the people.
Yes.
It's not after, even when you want to scale up, because this is what makes a company last, if you have the right people and the right founders.
Yes.
And the right team behind.
Yes, because I mean, if you have a good idea with a bad team, you don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
If you have a very good team, even the idea is not so good, you can fix the idea, you can pivot your project, and you can do it if your team is good.
Yeah.
And so team is a key aspect. And I think for many of the for most of the successful companies we have around today, you'll find out that the team is something outstanding. You know, of course, there are cases where the early stage entrepreneur is not good also to manage the company in the scale up phase. And these people may be stays as main stockholder, but I ask to more manager to handle the company and to make it grow up faster. But so far I see most of the companies are growing up with the entrepreneurs that launched them since the day one.
Okay, interesting. And I mean, I think we can keep going for hours on this discussion, but the thing is, you write and you report all of this ecosystem evolution here and elsewhere on startup business, and now you're trying to take companies abroad. Are there any successful, if you want, closures that you've achieved, meaning an Italian company signing this contract?
Yeah, there are some companies. I mean, during these missions, the output can be of different type.
Okay.
You can have investor that decide to invest in one of the company. You can have industrial partnership or retail, or and you can have also different other outputs. For example, biotech companies that came with me in Australia, they discovered that in Australia the preclinical process is a bit easier, a bit faster than in Europe, and they probably can consider to adopt this process to have to keep developing their products. and saving some time is very good for a biotech company and even for the investors of the company. Those are just examples, but
that's a valid point actually, because going there and not just being behind the desk at some point gives additional validation.
Yes.
And allow them to do research and, as you said, go faster with what they want to do and find new markets.
Yeah.
Because going with assumptions sometimes is not always the best way. For sure, it's a good starting point, but you need to validate it at some point, and what works here might not work somewhere else, vice versa.
And I add also that a very interesting side effect of those missions is to show to those markets, Japan, Australia, that we have a new generation of made in Italy that is just fashion, food, fast cars and furniture, that they are good, of course, but we have also technology. And this is helping to change the perspective, how the people we met during those missions see how they perceive it, and the Italian economy. And this is very good because after 3 editions in Tokyo, for example, the first edition was a sort of an experiment, and we have about 50 people in the room during the pitching section. Last year, that was the 3rd edition, we were hosted by the Japanese External Trade Organization, and we had about 250 people in the room, including big Japanese names, such as SoftBank or NTT.
So it's the rise again of the made in Italy after. Well, I'm not saying after the design because it's still there. It's just that there are many around, but it's to show again the excellence of Italy
in the technology.
Yes.
Okay. In the innovation, the specific innovation regarding to the technology, different fields, but with a technology element in that. So not just a new way to do business, but new things, and you can propose to the partners you meet in those markets around the world. That is very good.
That's in the DNA anyway, because in design as well, it comes from the heart as well. That's the first way it starts, and I think it applies to what you're saying as well.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.